Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be doing a guide on carrier basics. I'm going to show you everything you need to know to start playing a carrier for your first time. Alright guys, this is Ironhide X, and today I'm going to be doing a guide on carriers. It's going to be a very basic guide. I'm going to show, if this is your first time to play a carrier, you're interested exactly how it works, I'm going to show you step by step how to play a carrier right off the bat from your first time. So whenever you queue up your first carrier game, you're going to be in a tier 4 carrier, and so you'll either be in the Langley or the Hosho. And for your first battle, whenever you spawn, you're going to get a view that looks like this. And I know it might be a little confusing, but this is how your view will be most of the time whenever you're in a carrier. You can hit the Z button if you have your carrier targeted, and I'll go over that. You can hit the Z button to get like this if you ever want to try to ram a ship or whatnot. It helps a little bit more to be in this view. But whenever you first start for the first time, you'll be here. So what do you do from here? Well, what you want to do, guys, is you're going to want to left click somewhere on the map. Now, this is assuming you haven't touched anything else and you have your carrier selected. So if you look down here at the bottom, this is what you have selected. So you're going to want to make sure you hit the number 1 key, because that's going to have your carrier. And then you're just going to left click anywhere you want to go on the map. And then the computer will just automatically take you there at half speed, wherever you choose on the map. It'll turn for you, and you can just pretty much set it and forget it. Now, another thing you can do, guys, that helps you a lot in a carrier, especially when you want to navigate islands, is you could actually do this for other ships as well, but we're covering carriers here. You can left click where you want to go, and let's say you want to go through an island, then hold down the shift key, and then shift, while holding down the shift key, left click the screen somewhere else, and that'll create waypoints. So just keep the shift key held down, and you can set waypoints to help you navigate through islands. And that's the path your ship will take. And you can do up to 5 of these. And again, whenever you're on auto mode like this, your ship will move at half speed. But still, as long as you don't touch the control keys, the A, D, or W, E keys to turn, your ship will continue on that path. So you can actually increase your speed. You can go to full speed, and it'll still follow those waypoints. So right off the bat, you're going to want to get your carrier moving. Look where your team's going. Kind of stay near them, I recommend. Very important to be aware of where your team's going, because if you get caught alone, you're going to die since you don't have any guns. Alright, so you got your ship moving, you got that going. The next thing you're going to want to need to do is start to launch your planes. So here I am in the Tier 9 Tahoe, and in this ship I have 7 different squads. I've got 2 fighter squadrons, 3 torpedo squadrons, and 2 dive bomber squadrons. Now, how you're going to go about selecting them is under each squadron you'll see a little number down here, and that's the corresponding key you're going to want to hit to select that squadron. So if I hit the number 2 key, it'll select this one. If I hit the number 4 key, it'll select this one, and so on and so forth. And that's how you're going to select your squadrons. So you have the squadron selected that you want to launch. So this is how you're going to launch your squadron. You can just type the key that you want to launch. So we're going to launch the number 2 squad, and then you're going to want to hit the F key, F like Foxtrot, and that'll cause your squadron to start to launch off your carrier. So we got our fighter airborne. Now let's say we want to launch a torpedo squad. So we're going to hit number 4, and then we're going to hit F again. And then let's say I want to launch all the torpedo squadrons. So we're going to hit F again under number 5. We're going to hit number 6. And then we're going to hit F again. Now what that's going to do is it's going to queue up those plane squadrons to launch in that order. So number 4 will come out, then number 5, and then number 6. And the little numbers you see here is just how long it's going to take for your aircraft squad to get airborne. So until they're fully airborne and whatnot, they're still in the launch mechanic, and you won't have any control of them. Alright, so you got your planes that you want launched. Let's go ahead and launch the 2 dive bomber squads I got. So we're going to hit 7 and then F, and then 8 and then F. So let's say we have these squads airborne. Now the next step is movement. So The first thing you want to do is select whatever squad you want. We're going to hit number 4 squad, and that'll highlight the number 4, and then just left click on the map wherever you want that squad to go. It's very simple, and again, just like the ship, guys, you could set up custom waypoints for your planes. All you got to do is left click on the map, then hold down the shift key, and again, you can type out waypoints for your planes, and they'll follow that track just like your ship. Alright, so you got your squad selected and you got it moving where you want, but let's say you want to get multiple squads moving at the same time. So what you're going to want to do is select your number 4 squad, get it moving over here, then select number 5, get it over here, and number 6, and get that moving over here as well. Now once you have all your squads on your screen in the areas that you're going to want, what I do, you hold down left click and then scroll your mouse over and it'll create this box. You see? So again, we'll do it one more time. Hold down left click, and then just scroll over. It'll create a box on your screen, and that'll select every squadron inside that box. That way you can, whenever you give commands, all 4 squadrons will be selected, and you can move them together like this. And it's really handy when you have multiple torpedo squads or multiple dive bomber squads, and you want them all to go hit a target at the same time. Now another thing we're going to cover real quick is your camera. So on your camera you can use your mouse wheel. You can scroll out or you can move your mouse wheel up and you'll scroll into the planes. Additionally, you can hit the Z key, Z like Zulu, and that will, whatever squadron you have selected, so in this case I have all 3 of my torpedo squadrons selected, that's going to zoom in and you can get a very close-in view of your squads. This is not very useful if you're going to be, dropping ordnance or anything like that. It's just a cool little thing so you can watch your planes. And then you can hit Z key again, and you'll go back to this screen. So Z zooms in, tap it again, and it zooms out. Now another thing to cover with the camera, let's say you have multiple different squads going all over the map. There's a few different ways you can take your camera to look at your different squads. So you have the old-fashioned RTS style where you can just move your mouse. Like I say, I'm moving my mouse to the right, the screen goes right, I move it up, I move left, and it goes left. And so that's one way you can do it. And then again, you can hold down left click, make a box over your squadrons you want, and then send them wherever you want them to go. But a quicker way to do it, guys, is select whatever squad you want. So let's say when we want to jump to the number 4 squad. So hit number 4, and then tap your space bar. And when you do that, it'll instantly move your camera to whatever you have selected, whatever squad you have selected. Additionally, you can hit your ship, so you hit the number 1 key, tap spacebar again, and it'll take you right to wherever your ship's at. That's handy in case you're getting torpedoes coming at you, and you need to quickly go back to your ship to avoid torpedoes, or you need to just maneuver. Maybe there's a ship getting too close. That's how you can very quickly cycle between your squads. So we hit the number 4 key, we go back to the torpedo planes, we hit the number 1 key, and then we hit spacebar and we go back to the carrier. Alright, so now you have your planes in the air. You know how to select your squadrons. You know how to select multiple squadrons at the same time. And you know how to quickly jump your camera around. So now, the next thing you're going to need to know how to do is how to actually drop your ordnance. How to drop torpedoes and how to drop your dive bombs. So in this case, I'm going to select just one squadron. I'm going to select my number 4 squad, and I'm going to take them over here to where this enemy ship is. So I'm going to left click, and my number 4 squad is going to start to fly over here. Now, once you do get over here, guys, whenever you first start playing carriers, there is 2 different ways to drop torpedoes and dive bombs. The first way is called manual dropping. And then the second way to drop your torpedoes is called auto dropping. Now when you first start off in a carrier, tiers 4 and tier 5, Wargaming has disabled manual dropping on your torpedo planes and your dive bombers. So the only thing you'll have access to is just regular auto dropping, which is nothing wrong with that. When you're first starting off carriers, it gets you a good idea of what's what. So whenever you get your plane over, and let's say there's a target you want to select, what you're going to want to do, hover over the ship you want to see. You'll see that you have a circle and a line, and that's going to show you how your torpedoes are going to drop. So you're just, it's very simple, just left click on the target, and that will cause your planes to start heading to that target, and they'll drop exactly as it shows here. So what do all these different things mean, though? So real quick, before I order them to drop, let's look at this. So on this, you see a circle, and then you see a green outline on the water leading to the ship. So that circle is the point of no return for your torpedo planes. They're going to drop once they hit that circle. So you could still, let's say we fly our plane over here, you can still give commands to the plane, and you can still have him turn, do whatever, and you can cancel this drop at any time until they hit this outline, that circle outline that's around there. So as long as they don't hit that circle outline, you can still give commands to your squad and whatnot. Now, once they do hit it, like you'll see right here, they're going to go into their drop pattern, and you have no choice. It's just going to continue that, and it's going to drop your torpedoes right there. And your torpedoes are going to follow that same track, that green outline that you've seen on the screen there. That's the path your torpedoes are going to take to the target. Very simple. Now, let's say you want to drop your torpedoes at a different angle. Another thing you can do, guys, is left click on the enemy ship. And let me send this plane squad way over here. So let's say I want to hit this ship from the front. Maybe I think he's going to turn, or for whatever reason. So left click on the target, and then down here you'll see this little arrow. See this little arrow here? If you left click on that arrow, you can move it around, and that'll show you from what angle your planes are going to drop as torpedoes. And again, that green line represents the track that your torpedoes are going to take in the water, and so you can very easily tell, how your torpedoes are going to hit. So again, just left click the target, and then drag this little icon that you see around here on the outside of the map, on the outside of the circle. Just drag that around, and that's at what angle your planes are going to drop on. Very useful for whenever you have multiple squads, and maybe you're targeting a destroyer, for instance, and you want to hit that destroyer from different drop angles in case he turns. It's very useful for that. Now with dive bombers, it follows the exact same principle. You move your planes around again, starting off at tiers 4 and 5, you don't have access to manual dropping, so the only thing you'll be doing is auto dropping. And with dive bombers, it's even more simple. You just go to the ship you wanna bomb, just left click on the ship, and then you'll see this oval. This oval represents your drop pattern for your bombs themselves. And you want to get as much of that oval over the ship as you possibly can to increase your chances of an actual bomb hit. And that's where moving that little check mark that's at the edge of the circle, this little mark right here, you just, again, left click, hold down left click, and drag it around, and you'll see the oval change. And what you're going to want to do, so whenever you come up on a ship, is again left click, drag that around until it completely covers the target like this, and then your dive bombers will come in and they'll drop on that oval pattern. Now there is some RNG, especially with auto dropping like that. So for instance, if you go completely sideways to a target, so let's move them like this, there is the potential that none of your bombs will hit, especially against smaller targets like destroyers. So whenever you do drop your bombs, you're going to want to make sure you move this little check mark around. That way you can get the maximum chance for your bombs to hit. And again, just like in torpedoes, that circle represents the point of no return. And once your dive bombers reach that circle, they're going to drop no matter what. And then once they've done drop their bombs, the next thing we're going to cover is how to cycle your planes. So your planes, they've dropped their ordnance. Now he's on his way back to the carrier, and he's going to come back to the carrier and he's going to land. Now, once he lands, you'll have different planes in the air. There's going to be a cycle time. So he's going to come back and he's going to land on your carrier, and then it'll be some time before that squad is ready to fly again, because it has to be rearmed. So in this case, it was about 28 seconds. You'll see this little countdown here. And then once that reaches 0, that's when you can launch your plane again to go off and go bomb again. Alright, so my dive bomber has almost reached 0. And as soon as he does, again, to relaunch your planes, Just hit the 8 key. That'll make sure you have that squadron selected. Then hit the F key, and that'll relaunch him again. So as your planes are going back and forth to your carrier, you actually don't have to, you can give orders to your squadrons that are not yet in the air. Simply type hit the key corresponding to the squadron you want. So let's say the number 4 squad, and you can just left click the map, and your squad will start to launch from your carrier here and head to this waypoint that you created. And you can do that for multiple squadrons. So I'm going to have all 3 of my torpedo squadrons heading over to here, and then let's say I'm going to have my dive bombers come over here, and then let's say I'm going to have my fighters come over to here. And simply by hitting number 2 or 3 or 4, depending on which squad I want, just select the squad and then left click the map, and that will send your fighters to whatever waypoint you want. Or of course you could just select the squadron and hit F, and that'll cause your planes to launch, and they'll rotate around your carrier until you give them orders to go elsewhere. So you've got your planes in the air. You know how to auto drop your torpedo planes, and you know how to automatically drop your dive bombers. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select multiple squads at the same time by holding down left click on the screen, and we're going to select all 3 of these squads. And then let's say you want to get them real tight together. It's real simple. Just left click the screen near where they're all at, and they'll kind of get into a nice tight little pattern. And then once they're like that, left click again, and all 3 of them will fly together to whatever your waypoints are. And that's how carriers get their planes in a nice tight grouping. And the reason why you do that is so when you drop on a ship, you'll have multiple impacts and whatnot at the same time, and it helps overcome enemies' anti-aircraft fire. So when you have multiple planes selected like this and you want to torpedo a ship, it's exactly the same as if you had only one squad. Just select the ship you want to target, hit left click, you can move them around. You have an arrow for each squad, and then they'll come to this little circle. That's the point of no return, and again they'll drop on the enemy ship. It's exactly the same as if you only had one squad, but all 3 will go and drop at the exact same time. And that's how you can create, you can be real sneaky with your drops, and it's helpful whenever you're trying to drop on destroyers and whatnot, get them coming at them from different angles and whatnot. And that's how you're going to drop with multiple squads at the same time. Alright guys, now we're going to cover manual torpedo dropping and manual dive bombing. Now how to manual drop is very different from auto dropping. So to manual drop your planes, you're going to want to select your squad, and then you're going to want to move them to the ship that you want to bomb. And whenever you get close, you're going to want to hold down Alt. If you hold down the Alt key, that'll bring up this little circle, and you'll have a much smaller drop pattern. So if you look at the little green outline that's on the water there, that's where my bombs will drop when I'm manual dropping. So it reduces the size of that so you can get more hits. And it's the same with torpedo planes. You'll get more hits because you can be more precise, but of course it is much more difficult, especially against moving targets. So you're holding down again the left Alt, and you have the ship you want to bomb. So what you're going to want to do is just simply put that green outline over the part of the ship you want to bomb, and your planes will start heading there. Now once you do on let's say a battleship for instance, and you select your manual drop, you still can move that that little check mark that's on the circle. You still can move that around, but a lot of times you won't have time to, because when the ships are moving, you just don't generally have time to still score a hit, because again, when they're moving, manual dropping is much more difficult. So let's do it again. We're going to drop with the number 8 squad this time. I'm going to hold down my left Alt, and we're going to drop right here on the rear of the ship this time to try to get another fire going at a different location. And again, as soon as they hit that circle, no matter what, your bombs are going to drop, because that's the point of no return with your dive bombers. And so that's how to manual drop with your dive bombers. It looks real easy, but it actually can be very difficult, especially for ships that they're going to be turning and maneuvering and attempting to throw off your aim. Alright, now we're going to cover the bread and butter of carrier gameplay and how to get lots and lots of damage, and this is the #1 way to do it, is you're going to be manual dropping with your torpedo planes. So in this case, we're going to do it one at a time. So I'm going to select my number 4 squadron, and I'm going to get it to fly over here. Now, when you hold down left click on your left alt with your torpedo planes selected, you'll have this circle again and your green outline of where your torpedoes are going to run. So this circle, whenever you're holding down left click and you intend to manual drop your planes have to be moving in the right direction, towards wherever you're going to drop at, and you have to left click before your planes get to that circle. So real quick, I'm going to get my planes heading over here, and I'm going to hold down left click, but I'm going to let them go past the circle. So I'm going to manual drop now. And see, my planes were already past this circle, though, when I hit left click. So I held down Alt and I hit left click, but the planes were already past that circle, and so they did that little spin-a-rooney thing. So your planes are going to fly back outside of that circle and then come back in, because you have to left click before your planes get to that circle. Otherwise, they'll do that little spin-a-rooney thing, and the ship will have moved, and it's just going to throw off your aim. So the ideal way to manual drop, guys, with torpedo planes is you're going to get your plane going over here this way, and you're going to select you have your target lined up that you want to hit. So you're going to turn your plane towards him, hold down left click, and then you're going to want to hold down Alt, then hit left click just before your planes get to that circle, and that'll cause your torpedoes, your planes to drop, and they won't do that little spin-a-rooney turn thing that can throw off your aim. So let's do it one more time. We're going to come over here, send my plane over here. Again, you can hold down left click and you'll see your circle, and you can get a judge for how much time you have before you have to drop. And it's just very important that you, while holding down Alt, that you hit your left click before your planes reach that target, before they reach that circle on the outside there. Because again, if you left click after they cross the circle, they'll do the spin thing, and quite often it can cause your torpedoes to completely miss against moving targets. Alright, so let's say you want to manual drop against using multiple squads at the same time. So I have my 2 dive bomber squads here, and again I held down left click and I created the box. So I selected both squads at the same time, and then I clicked a part of the map to get the planes to get a nice tight pattern, so that way the planes will fly real close together. And then I'm just going to go over here to this curve first, and it's the exact same as if I was dropping with just one squad. And hit left, holding down Alt, I hit left click, and then both squads will drop at the exact same time. And that's just useful for doing the most damage while having the least amount of risk. And also, whenever you have multiple squads like that, let's say the enemy has a fighter plane up, whenever one of your squads is attacked by a fighter, it's going to cause your reticle to bloom, which I'll show you later. And it's just also you can overwhelm their anti-aircraft when you attack with multiple squads. So let's say one squad, if these ships were active, their AA would be shooting down my planes. And so if I attack with multiple squads at the same time, some of them are still going to get through no matter how good the AA is usually, and I'll get more hits. So let's say I want to manual drop with multiple torpedo planes. So I'm going to get over here, I'm going to hold down left click, I'm going to select all my torpedo planes, and then I'm going to get them in a nice tight pattern, and then I'm going to fly them to where I want them to go, and I'm going to drop on that curve first again with all 3 squads. Alright, so we're going to get them going this way. And again, hold down Alt, left click before they reach the circle, and they'll all drop at the same time. And this is how you're going to get your big damage in the games, guys. All of those torpedoes will go at the same time and just do massive damage. Alright, so now the last thing you need to know whenever you're manual dropping with your torpedo planes is, let's select the number 5 squadron, is that your torpedoes, whenever you drop them from your planes, they have an arm time. So they have to travel a certain distance before the torpedoes will arm and be able to explode. So I'm going to demonstrate real quick. So I'm going to send my planes over here, and I'm going to drop on this Yamato, but I'm going to drop too close for the torpedoes to have time to arm. So I'm going to fly them over here, hold down left alt, and then drop them right here off the ship. That's going to be too close. The torpedoes are not going to have time to arm, and they're just going to impact the side of the ship and do absolutely nothing at all. You see, they didn't have time to arm. So you do have to, whenever you manual drop, guys, you have to drop far enough away to give your torpedoes time to arm. And this is about the optimal distance you want to drop from. About there, and that'll give your torpedo planes, your torpedoes time to arm, but it's also so close that the enemy ship generally won't have time to evade, and that's about the distance you want. But you can judge for yourself whenever you're playing. So there we go. There's the basics of manual dropping with torpedo planes, the basics of manual dropping with dive bombers, and also the basics of auto dropping with both, both torpedo and dive bombers. Now we're going to cover the next very, very important skill that you need to learn that I have yet to show off, and that is your fighter planes. So we're going to hit number 2. We're going to hit spacebar, take us to the fighter planes. So your fighter planes do multiple things. Generally, your fighters have more hit points than the dive bombers, so they can survive a bit longer under AA fire. Very useful for spotting enemy ships. I use my fighters quite often for spotting enemy ships, but of course you want to use them to shoot down enemy airplanes. So let me queue up a battle with some active carriers, and I'll show you how to use fighters. Alright guys, so we're going to be covering fighters now. So there's some very important things you need to know with fighters. At tier 4 and 5, they have removed the ability for fighters to strafe, so you won't need to worry about strafing when you first start off at tiers 4 and 5. But some of the mechanics you do need to be aware of. With your fighter planes, whenever you engage in another enemy fighter, now it could be fighters launched from a carrier, or it can be a catapult fighter, maybe launched from a ship, from a battleship or a cruiser. Anytime your fighters engage an enemy fighter, they're going to get what's called locked up. And that pretty much means your fighter will sit there and fight the enemy fighter plane until either your fighters are dead or his fighters are dead. And why this is really important to note, like you'll see right here, is that let's say you are over an enemy ship that has good AA, or let's say you're just over anything that has AA. Whenever your planes get locked up like that, it's a good way for the enemy to destroy your planes with the friendly ships' anti-aircraft fire, because again, all he has to do is get a catapult fighter and it'll lock up your fighters or his fighters, and if they lock you up over a enemy ship, the AA can really hurt you. So just need to really be aware of that, and that's how the lockup mechanic is going to work. Now the next thing to know is how to actually attack planes. So I have my number 3 squad here. It's real simple. Just left click on the enemy squad that you want to attack, and they'll instantly start to attack. Let's hit the Z key. You can even zoom in and kind of watch them go to town there. So it's real simple. Just select squadron. Let's say we have my number 2 squadron over here and my number 3 squadron over here, and just left click on the enemy plane squad you want to engage, and that's all there is to it. At tier 4s and 5s, there is no strafing you need to worry about. The only thing you really got to be aware of is the lockup mechanic. Like I said, your planes will get locked up, and it's another handy thing is, let's say you want to get some torpedo planes through or some dive bombers through, you can lock up their fighters and still get your torpedo planes and your dive bombers through without having to worry about being attacked by their fighters, since you have them locked up. Now, the big thing, guys, once you're past tier 4 and 5, you have the strafe mechanic to take into account. So the strafe mechanic, whenever you have a fighter plane, so if you hold down left alt, you'll see again a little circle, and it'll have the green path. And what a strafing does is your planes will just go to that area, and they'll just do like a barrage. They'll spray out a bunch of bullets, and it massively, hugely increases their damage. So anytime you can catch an enemy squad with a strafe, you could pretty much wipe them out. So let's strafe this torpedo plane that's heading towards my carrier. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to send my planes to the direction he's heading, and I'm going to hold down left Alt, and I'm going to make sure that that line, my path line, is going to be over that enemy ship whenever my plane starts to strafe. So here's how the strafe works. Say I do a strafe and it'll just really tear up enemy ships. This is going to be a crucial skill to learn whenever you're at the higher tier, guys. You can see how quickly you can kill those planes with strafing. So very, very important skill, and it is the single hardest thing to learn when playing carriers is how to properly strafe with your fighter planes. It is the single hardest thing to learn. So again, to strafe, hold down the left key, left Alt, and then just left click wherever you want your strafe to go. And again, that circle is the point of no return. Your planes will start that strafe once they hit that circle, and so you have to just judge based on the enemy plane's speed and whatnot that they get trapped in that green outline. If they're outside that green outline, they won't take any damage. And your strafe generally actually won't last. Let's see if we can strafe this guy from far away. Your strafe generally won't last all the way down here to the end. You'll see right here. Now I still caught him with a little bit. Also, another thing about strafing, guys, is it uses lots and lots of ammo on your fighter planes. So your fighter planes have a finite amount of ammunition, and you can see your ammunition if you look at your fighter planes. The little bullets right there. When those run out, your fighter planes will no longer have ammunition, and they'll have to return to the carrier. So every time you strafe, it does expend ammunition. So people can't just keep strafing forever. Now, another thing to do with strafing. Let's say you get locked up with an enemy carrier's planes, or even let's say a catapult fighter launched from a ship. But let's say it's a ship that has really good AA, and so you want to get your planes to escape. One thing you can do, and the only way to escape from a lockup, is to either kill the planes or strafe out of it. So let's say I got my planes right here, and they're engaged with an enemy squad, and they're losing, and I just want to get them out of there. As long as I have at least 2 planes left alive, what you can do is hold down Alt, and then just left click anywhere on the screen, or anywhere close to your fighters, and they'll do this. They'll do a strafe out, whereas they'll just strafe away from that enemy fighter that had you locked up, and then you can take your planes and run away, or get them over friendly planes or whatever. And that's one way to break contact with enemy fighters, is to strafe out of it. Really, that's your only option, as a matter of fact, to break contact. So again, to strafe, hold down left Alt. You're going to want to make sure that the enemy planes, they're going to be in this green pattern whenever the strafe actually starts. This is a hard skill to learn and a harder skill to master, and it will take a lot of practice. But that's how you manual strafe, and that's pretty much everything you need to know about auto attacking with your fighters. Now, another thing, real quick, fighters do whenever you attack an enemy aircraft's dive bombers or his torpedo planes with your fighters, is it's going to cause their fighters, their torpedo planes and their dive bombers, they get panicked because they're under attack by fighters, and so it massively increases their spread. That's why sometimes when carriers attack, they'll have torpedoes that go way out this way, and then one will go this way, and then one other one go way out this way. That's because they get panicked because they're under attack by enemy fighters. Another thing that can cause this is the defensive fire ability that cruisers have. Anytime your planes get panicked, your torpedoes, that'll cause your spread, instead of having a nice clean drop pattern like this, it'll cause them to have a super wide shotgun spread. So even at tier 4 and 5, if you can get your fighters over onto an enemy torpedo plane squad or dive bomber squad, you can cause them to panic, and it really helps your friendly ships, because the torpedoes will spread out so wide that they often won't hit, and it makes it much easier for your ships to shoot them down, or to avoid the torpedo hits and the dive bomber hits. And again, the same thing happens for dive bombers. Whenever they're under attack by enemy aircraft, their drop pattern will become huge. It'll be almost the size of the circle itself, and the odds of getting a hit, especially with the Japanese, are much, much smaller. Um, so there's pretty much all the basics. Again, this is just the basics of fighters, how to just automatically attack enemy squads and planes, and how to use the strafe mechanic. Again, I will be doing a guide on advanced tactics, and we'll go into all that and the strengths and weaknesses of each nation and the different carriers and whatnot, and the important skills to use on carriers. But this, again, was just a basic guide. I hope I covered everything. You should know now how to control your planes, how to control your carrier, how to select your different squads, how to select multiple squads, how to manual drop with both torpedoes and dive bombers, and how to auto drop with both torpedoes and dive bombers. This is Ironhide X. Thank you very, very much for watching my video. I also stream now, guys. If you look at the description below, I will have links to also my Twitter channel. Also, guys, if you like my videos and you like my channel and you like my streaming and whatnot, please help support my channel. You'll see links down below to both my Patreon and my little tip jar on Twitch. It helps me a great deal. I am attempting to do this full time, so it would help support the channel a great deal. And again, I'll have links down below for Patreon and whatnot. Guys, also, if you like my videos here, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It helps me immensely. If anybody has any requests, please leave comments down below. You should see a little button popping up any second now to subscribe to my channel. And thank you very much for watching again. Leave comments. I check every single comment I get, and I attempt to reply to every comment I get. Thank you very much again for watching. This is Ironhide X, and I will see you next time.